Now we're going to talk about my favorite way to use points, and that is to fly all over the world. There are so many different airlines, so there are so many great deals out there. This is Heidelberg, Germany. If you fly Star Alliance, you'll probably fly through Frankfurt at some point. Heidelberg is just a couple-hour drive from Frankfurt and a beautiful city to stop over if you have a stopover or a long layover. I'm going to talk to you about how I sort of mentally categorize the different kinds of points that you can use. Now, this is just my personal opinion. This is not anything that I have categorized or calculated according to data. It's just how I personally feel about stuff. And as you get more acquainted with the different programs, you'll probably put them in your own boxes. But I want to walk you through how I categorize them individually. On the left side are the programs I always use: ANA, Air Canada, Turkish Airlines, though I only use Turkish for domestic flights, which I talked about earlier. I wish I could use more Alaska Airlines and American Airlines points, but because of the credit cards that I use, I can't rack up points fast enough. And Alaska Airlines is a transfer of built rewards, but that's just not a great partner for the way that I spend money. Programs in the middle are the ones that I check often. People really like Air France as well as Virgin Atlantic. I haven't had a lot of experience with either one of these programs, but I do think that they are very good and there's a lot of value to be had from them. I bolded the programs that are kind of considered the top, and maybe not by everybody, but at least by a lot of people. The programs that I italicized are the ones that I'm not as familiar with, but I did still look up some different deals that you can check out and even learned a little bit while researching for this course. Avios, there are many different kinds of Avios, but they all coordinate and can be transferred between partners. So I just grouped them all into one, and I'll show you the different deals that you can book with the different partners there. The expensive programs are Delta, Emirates, Cathay Pacific, Qantas, and Etihad Guest. You can still find some good deals on these programs. And the ones that I'm not going to talk about in this video are Aeromexico, Thai, Malaysia, JetBlue, and Southwest, just because Southwest, great programs, particularly with the companion pass, as is Alaska, but it's not a great use of like sweet spots and trying to find points just because it's all attached to cash. Talked about that earlier. So as we get started, I'll go from the worst to the best, and hopefully it'll get more and more fun as we go. Anytime I'm looking to book any flight, obviously I check Google Flights to see what the cash prices are, and then I use these three softwares. We've talked about them, how to use them. My first one is always Seats.aero. It's just fast. It can search so many different airports at one time. It can search so many different dates, and doing the same thing on other softwares just takes a lot of time. So I love to look at Seats.aero first. Other than that, I check points. Yeah, I don't really check point.me. It just takes too long. It's not really my style, but you might find that it's a great software for you, and a lot of people really love it. So for starters, Etihad Guest. You can book a flight from the Middle East to New York in first class for 160,000 miles. This is the first apartment. They don't even call it a first class seat. It's an apartment because it's that big. So availability, I believe, is pretty hard to find. I've never tried to book this, but it is an interesting use of your points. If you wanted to get a very high monetary value out of your points, this is a very expensive seat. Qantas sells seats to LA in their first class on their A380 for 162,800 miles. It is incredibly difficult to find seats. Hypothetically, if you could find one, or if you set an alert for many months, you may be able to fly Qantas. Cathay Pacific does have a few options here and there, but probably the best one is if you wanted to fly around the world. When you get to the higher distances, their rates actually beat ANA, which is my favorite ticket in the world to book, is an around the world miles ticket, and we'll end our course kind of with that because it's so cool. But if you're really going to fly 50,000 miles or almost 50,000 miles, Cathay does give you some great rates. You'd have to really be creative to do this, but hey, if you really want to be creative with your points, you have some time off and you want to go travel the world, this can be a great option to fly a lot of miles with your points. Emirates does not have a lot of great deals in their economy class just because they do leverage a lot of taxes and fees. But if you do want to fly first class, you could hypothetically go almost 30 hours in flight, may actually be 30 hours in flight, from LA to Dubai and then Dubai to Sydney, Australia in first class for 281,250 miles. A lot of people love Emirates. They talk about their first class. I have never flown it. I think that would be super cool, but probably not going to spend the points to do it. If you were to pay cash, it would cost you almost $20,000. So you'd be getting a return of 6.2 cents per point. There are some cool options with Emirates, but I will show you a program soon that you can book Emirates Business Class with for a whole lot cheaper. Delta Airlines does occasionally have some good deals, such as this one from Seattle to Taipei, Taiwan. You'll notice that their first class is 50,000 points less than their premium select class. I am pretty sure, though, that this is because Delta has come under fire for getting a lot of people to sign up for their credit cards and then changing their rates so that the points that they gave them when they signed up are not as valuable. So I think this is one of their ways of saying, oh yeah, look how valuable our program is. Just a speculation. There are some deals like this out there, but most of them look like this. If you actually fly less distance from Seattle to Tokyo, it's going to cost you almost 4 times as many miles. I wouldn't want to rely on a lot of Delta points just because they're pretty volatile and it's hard to know what's going to happen with them and what further devaluations are going to come. Here's an example of a good way to use your points with Delta, and that would be for a last-minute international booking. This doesn't happen all the time, but occasionally they will leave the points rates at what they were charging kind of initially, even though the cash rates skyrocket. So you can see that this would be 47,000 miles in economy plus $60, or $3,200. So you'd be getting a return of 6.72 cents per point on this. This is, of course, assuming that you would have to book last minute, which you don't necessarily have to do, but in the event that you're in a pinch, definitely check Delta SkyMiles and see if, particularly internationally, they have a discounted rate. One cool hack that you can use, particularly with last minute bookings like the one we just talked about, is to check the seat maps, because Delta One may be 500,000 miles on this route, but if you just book like a basic economy or economy ticket and then sit in the back of the plane, odds are you're probably going to get your own row if this is a last minute flight. So you can even try to like fake book a flight just to go all the way through and then pick your seat, and you'll see how many seats are available. So instead of paying for a bed, you just go to the back of the plane, you get 3 seats to yourself, and you can pretty much lay down. I'm 6'5" and I can generally make it work. This is like one of the best ways to fly flat in the world. Also, when you fly free Delta One, meaning the back of the cabin, 3 seats to yourself, as opposed to Delta One, you don't have to worry about staying up for all the great food because it's not worth staying up for anyway, so you can just focus on your sleeping. Delta does have a lot of great deals in business and economy, but you've got to get out of America to experience them because you've got to get to their partners. This flight from Tokyo to Jakarta on Garuda Indonesia is 40,000. From Seoul to Paris on Air France, 80,000 in business, 50,000 in economy. From Taipei to Frankfurt on China Airlines for 80,000, and from London Heathrow to Johannesburg for 65,000 on Virgin Atlantic. It's saying that it's Delta One. This is not really Delta One. These are their partners. So hypothetically, you could fly from the East Coast. That's a pretty short flight. Get over to London and then pay your Delta miles 65,000 to go down to Johannesburg, which is a longer flight, and you'd fly comfortably. A much better use than spending 400 or 500,000 to go to Tokyo. Singapore KrisFlyer has some pretty good deals as well. They can be a little bit difficult to find, but there are some sweet spots out there. Example, Singapore to Johannesburg is frequently available. If you're going to be in Asia and you want to go to Africa, this is 56,000 miles in business. Here's another one from Singapore all the way to Newark. And this is one of the world's longest flights for $70 and 111,500 miles in business class. This flight does not even have an economy seat because it is too long. I think they think that's torture, and so they only have premium economy and business. But you can book it with Singapore KrisFlyer. EVA Air is a program I haven't explored a lot, but they have some value in that they offer a lot of stopovers. So hypothetically, if you're in Australia and you want to go from Sydney to Fiji, to Samoa, to New Zealand, and then back to Australia, you can do this flight for 35,000 in economy or 55,000 in business if you can find space. I'm not sure when you're going to be in Sydney and want to go to all of these places, but if you have some time and you want to use some points and fly to a bunch of cool places, you can absolutely do that. TAP Air Portugal is a program I hadn't explored a lot until I started preparing for this course. Most of their redemptions are not really that good on their own flights. So you can see to fly from North America to Europe, it's almost 30,000 miles one way. That's not really a great deal because Portugal is very close to the United States. TAP does, however, have a partnership with Emirates, which is pretty cool because they allow stopovers and they allow open jaw. So you could fly from LA to Dubai, stop in Dubai, hang out for a few days, go on to Sydney, Australia, find your own way from Sydney to Auckland, and then fly back on Emirates from Auckland to Dubai, and then Dubai back to LA. It will cost you $260,000 in business class, which to my knowledge is the cheapest way you'd be able to book these flights. One of the weird things about award charts is there's always sweet spots. And so here's an example of Haneda to Dubai if you were in Asia and you wanted to fly, over to Dubai. This flight would cost you 120,000 miles if you booked it with Emirates. It would cost you 184,000 miles if you booked it with Aeroplan, and it would cost you 60,000 miles if you booked it with TAP Air Portugal. And I actually called them to see if this was a real deal.
Welcome to TAP Air Portugal. Good morning. My name's Laura. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm just looking to book an award ticket on Emirates Airlines from Tokyo Haneda to Dubai.
What is your MyZingo account?
My account number is...
Thank you for waiting, sir. Can you confirm your full name, date of birth, and email, please? So I see that you have 200 miles on your account. You're only going to search for the availability for now?
Yes.
And what is the date of the flight?
Yeah, for one person, flight number EK313.
Oh, from Emirates, right?
Yes.
Okay, just another moment, please.
Thank you for your help.
Let me just check if it's going to be available to price, because sometimes we do see an availability, but it's not necessarily open to us to price. A moment, please.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for waiting, sir. Yes, there is a seat available, and it would be 60,000 miles, and the airport fees would be $488.30.
Okay, taxes and fees, $488.30, and 60,000 miles.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. Do you have two seats available?
Yes. Is there anything else that you need?
No, that'll be all. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
So they confirmed it. It's true. You can do it. If enough people hear about this, it will probably go away. But for now, it is a deal that you can book. They do take the same surcharges as Emirates. So you can see Air Canada doesn't have a huge surcharge, but you're also paying 123.9 thousand miles less than you would if you were to buy this flight on Aeroplan. TAP does not allow you to book their partner awards like Emirates online, so you'd have to call in. This is a good time to tell you about an app that I use all the time, which is Skype Credit. You can just download it on your phone, and then you can call basically any number in the world, because in this case, TAP's Mileage Help Center does not have a number outside of Portugal. Now, you can call their customer service line like toll-free and then get transferred, but if you need to be able to call a number that's overseas, having Skype Credit is very cheap and it's very easy to use. While we're on the subject of apps, I'll tell you about what I use to check out whether or not I have access to a lounge based on my airline status or the credit cards that I have. Lounge Review is right now about the best option, and it does give relatively accurate information, but you kind of want to check the individual rules of the lounges just to make sure. You can also check the American Express website or the Priority Pass app, but those are not going to give you all that you have, whereas Lounge Review, if you enter your trip and tell it what you're flying, it should be able to spit out for you what credentials you have.